As many of you may remember, earlier this year, r/animemes engaged in a civil war with itself. The fighting broke out when the mods decided to ban the word traps. This caused many weebs to get angry because they were unwilling to let go of their beloved figures, such as Astolfo. What started out as a minor protest over a rule change quickly turned into a worsening situation when Redditors realized that the mods were also talking crap on other subreddits and were refusing to engage in talks with the community when an equilibrium probably could have been reached. Ultimately, the subreddit lost over 100,000 subscribers and ended up going private for a while, but it has recently reopened. However, far more important than this is that a group of unsatisfied Redditors who were originally fans of r/animemes decided to make a new subreddit known as r/goodanimemes. Originally, this subreddit was mainly just dedicated to trashing the original animemes. However, now that all of this is behind them, both of the subreddits are pretty much just doing their own thing. r/goodanimemes decided to really identify itself with the usage of the word trap, while r/animemes has seriously distanced itself from it. To put this into context, r/goodanimemes even has a trap as their mascot. Now, this was actually a pretty hot topic of the time, with many people asking me to cover it. However, at the time, I was only doing anime theories, but I was aware of the situation at the time. Many people formed strong opinions over this, some people got genuinely angry, and other people were just trolling the whole time. But for me, I just thought it was dumb. I mean, let's be real here, guys. Ultimately, it was just some internet drama. Calling it a civil war is a bit extreme. But in any case, now that it's been several months since all of this happened, and the two subreddits have been isolated from each other, who now has the better memes? While this may initially sound like an interesting question to ask, the reality is that neither one of these subreddits actually has any good memes in the first place. And this is not just due to the war. r/animemes had been going downhill long before that. Now, I will admit that this channel actually would not be at the stage that we are at today if it was not for some memes made last year about the channel. So I do have a lot of thanks for the community of animemes, or rather I have a lot of thanks for the community of animemes from 1 year ago, not really for the community of animemes anymore. Over time, the innovation stopped and the cringe started, to the point where once this civil war had occurred, I had already long stopped browsing this subreddit, mainly because of the brutally unfunny memes that were on it. So I do find it rather comical that the detractors of r/animemes would then create a subreddit known as goodanimemes, when in reality, animemes is inherently awful, and there can be no such thing as a good variant of it. Now, I do accept the fact that good is a somewhat subjective term to exist. For the sake of argument, we're going to say that good means that the memes are funny, original, and actually make you want to browse this subreddit. However, when we actually examine what is on both of these subreddits, it's pretty clear that this isn't the case for either of them. Both subreddits are laden with watermarks, unfunny meme templates that went out of style about a year ago, the same recycled jokes that I've been seeing since 2017, and overall, there's just been a complete stagnation of culture here. Innovation is a thing of the past, and this is no more present than on both of these subreddits. Ultimately, since the memes aren't really funny and definitely aren't original, that also means that, therefore, there is no real value to staying on these subreddits. So I would argue that neither of them are objectively any good. Unfortunately, as I was browsing these subreddits, I could feel my IQ dropping by the second, to the point where, by the end of my browsing session, suddenly I found myself including Instagram handles for no reason in my speech. I found that in my daily life, I began making these just horrendously unfunny references that have been out of style for quite literally years at this point. All of my friends began to get worried, but I didn't know what to tell them. Ultimately, I realized that there was nothing wrong with me, because I was a Redditor and they were not. Since I was able to browse the holy land of Reddit and witness the sheer intelligence on both animemes and goodanimemes, I felt intellectually and morally superior to these other normies. I didn't just think that I was better, in fact, I knew that I was better, because the references that I was making to shows that are 5 years out of date were just so on point. It got to the point where I memorized all of the meme templates. Very impressive, I know. And I was able to recite them in real life. Truly, browsing animemes and good animemes was just the best thing that ever happened to me. At every step of the way, I attempted to convert all these normies to my Reddit ways, and I was very happy to see that these subreddits have such a massive influence on the YouTube community as well. I mean, such places of pure comedy and intelligence should influence all parts of our culture. So I was extremely glad to know that I could not escape the clutches of animemes no matter where I went. I knew all of the seasonal anime by heart, and lucky for me, I didn't even have to make any of my own opinions about them, because animemes and good animemes already told me how to feel. Truly, life was just so much easier as a Redditor. Many people in life say that you should strive to be a trendsetter. However, I don't believe that this is the case. If my time on animemes and good animemes has taught me anything, then being a trend follower is infinitely easier. And who doesn't want to live an easy life? However, my easy life did one day come to an end. One day, after browsing these two subreddits for over 72 hours on end, I eventually had to go to the doctor because I was suffering from extremely low intelligence levels. Once I got there, they gave me a prescription to help out my illness. So I went over to CVS, and that was where they filled out my prescription for the red pill. And after taking it, I've got to say that my life simply isn't the same. All of a sudden, the repetitiveness of it all came back to me, and I realized that I was just browsing these subreddits because I genuinely had nothing better to be doing. It was simply just what I had always done, and it's really not easy to break an addiction. However, I recognized that I had a problem, and once I realized it, I was able to take action. If you or a loved one is suffering from a Reddit addiction, then I implore you to try and get some help for your illness. Truly, it will make your life better once you are no longer under the clutches of the hive mind. Now, all of this does seem extremely bad for the future of the now fractured Animemes community. So, the final question to ask is there any hope of Animemes redeeming itself and becoming a good place to find anime-related memes yet again? Or is it time for the Animemes and good Animemes users in the audience to jump ship? And frankly, I cannot responsibly say anything other than that you will be wasting your life if you spend any more time on either of these subreddits. Pretty much all of what made Animemes a fun place to go to has long since been gone, and the good old days are in fact over. I'd recommend that you jump ship as soon as possible. Just because the present is bad doesn't mean that we can't at least appreciate the past and what Animemes once was. It used to be a place of innovation, where the memes were brought to life instead of where the memes were killed. And it used to be a place where the meme templates were created, not just where they were overdone and then destroyed. But frankly, it hasn't been this way for years at this point, and I don't really think that it's going to go back to being this way. It's grown too large for its own good, and there is pretty much zero possibility of Animemes ever going back to being a worthwhile subreddit to spend your time on. It's a sad story, but it's an important story, because spending your time on Animemes is one of the most dangerous things that you can do to your body. If you don't get out soon, then you may in fact become one of the most wretched species on Earth, a Redditor. And so, I will leave it at that. That's all, guys. Goodbye.